in to implement these agreements. I mean, one would say we've had this one time too many, and not much difference, have come out of it. And some people already predicted that the strike might not hold, or even if it holds, a few hours, the first day and second day would not even go through, which is pretty much what played out here. Now, he also went on to reaffirm and extend the 7-day ultimatum by another 7 days, so which now expires on the 13th day of March 2023, within which the government is expected to implement all the earlier agreement of the second day of October. So they're giving the government about 2 weeks for that to be implemented, or they'll be back to deciding what the next course of action is. We've seen too many back and forths in the past 8 months with the NLC, the TUC, the protest, the strike, and what difference it makes in drawing the government's attention to the hardship that Nigerians are currently facing. I know that protests are important, but are they effective, if anything at all? Because we've seen this back and forth one time too many, and it just begs the question, what's the point if we would only get promises, ultimatums, and then we'll go back to square one again?
That shouldn't be the case, because protest is a legitimate tool that citizens deploy or use to press some certain demands and to draw the attention of government to their needs and what they expect of their government, especially at a time that Nigeria is experiencing what I've severally described as cost of existence crisis. If you say cost of living, you are being charitable. What we are faced with is cost of existence, because in a situation where not just food has gone out of reach of the ordinary Nigerian, even the price of water, drinking water, is no longer affordable. And so when the destitution and hunger in the land is such that people are now particularly feeding from the garbage bins and unable to buy packaged water to drink. Water is supposed to be almost free, and if it's not free, it should be very affordable. But when people cannot even afford to buy water to drink, to push out what they have picked up from garbage bins, it tells you that this is worse than cost of living crisis. For me, it's cost of existence crisis, because many Nigerians are barely existing on the margins of life. And so protest at this point is legitimate. And one would have ordinarily expected that the government would not even wait for protest of this nature to begin to act. If you are sensitive enough, if you are responsible enough as a government, you should know when the barometer is negative, when it comes to the quality of life that your citizens are now living with. And so, yes, I know that the NLC methods may not be very satisfactory to a lot of Nigerians because they expect much more from them. But I also think that as imperfect as the approach of NLC is, I think the onus on government not to abuse what seems to be like a cooperative, organized labor leadership. That I do not think they are compromised. I don't think they are just trying to, as much as possible, give government the benefit of that, to stretch it to the, the limits of possibilities of government acting in good faith.
But a spokesperson of the government has described the protest as needless, saying that government is doing everything possible to alleviate the hardship, and also went on to describe it as being a political agenda of some sort.
And that's why I'm saying that the government is wrong to this part, because I think the NLC is doing the government a huge favor. By extension, the organized labor movement. First, they've come out to protest. Secondly, they've called off the protest for a second day, so as to give government time to look at what happened yesterday. It was successful. It was very successful, to the point that even security agencies cooperated fully and provided security for protesters. We saw a situation where the police command in Lagos, the officers and men sharing water and some other forms of refreshment for protesters. We've not seen that for a while, if I thought it has not happened before. What that tells you is that the protest in itself is popular across board. People are feeling the heat. Everybody in Nigeria is feeling the heat of the current situation in the country. And so rather than grandstand and brandish the narrative of politicking behind the protests, I think government should begin to realize that it's in their interest that NLC is even protesting at all and coming out to at least show that they are trying to fight for the people. I say this because the day Nigerians completely lose faith in NLC and the organized labor by extension and begin to think that nobody is fighting for them or speaking for them or holding government to account, they might resort to self-help because the situation has become so desperate. And the man that is already down fears no fall. And so government should jettison that idea or that narrative of politicking around this issue. I've said it at another platform that the Nigerian opposition has presently constituted has no capacity to organize protest, has no capacity for opposition. In fact, we don't have an opposition in Nigeria anymore. Effectively, it's dead. It's completely dead.
But what would you say will make an effective opposition? Because we've always seen thought pieces from the PDP and the Labour Party. They've also come out to say there will be a formidable opposition. Are they not doing enough?
No, they're not doing enough at two levels. Number one, the elected political leaders of both the PDP and Labour Party are in bed with their counterparts and colleagues in the APC, the ruling APC. It's clear. Both at the state level and at the National Assembly level. You saw the protesters, the Judicial Labour MP joining the protest, Judicial PDP MP joining the protest. Ordinarily, we expect that the Labour Party, for example, and members of the Labour Party in the National Assembly would have joined the NLC in this protest because the NLC backed their party. In fact, the party that upon which they won the election is owned by the NLC. And they ran on the popular sentiments of an alternative to the two establishment parties to get to where they are today. And so, but none of them showed up for the protest. None of them have spoken strongly on the floor of the National Assembly to echo about the issues that the organized labor is even talking about as it concerns the ordinary people. So that is failure of opposition on one hand. Secondly, we've seen effort by the candidates of the PDP in the last election, Atiku Abubakar, and that of the Labour Party, Mr. Itodo, to come up with critical ideas, try to critique the government, and try to offer, suggestions here and there. But something is fundamentally still lacking in the positions of both gentlemen. They seem to think that you can do the wrong things in the right way. And this is where I've always tried to say, look, both the PDP and Labour Party and anybody that's interested in an alternative to what the Tinubu administration is doing now needs to sit down and have a deep reflection on critical thinking and out-of-the-box kind of thinking on how to move Nigeria forward by evolving a new economic thought process that completely differs from the current orthodoxy that both the Labour Party candidate and the PDP candidate appears to still be running with. For example, while P2B has been more of, commendation where he feels they are doing the right thing. For example, he has commended them on the steps taken so far to probably implement the Roundtable report, but some caveats here and there. He has also called for reduction of cost of governance and some of this, basic public commentary. While the candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has tried to go deeper by x-raying the policies and coming up with what he thinks are his own solutions to doing the same thing he pledged to do, but in a better way. And that is where I fundamentally differ with the PDP candidate. The twin policies of subsidy removal and the floating of the Naira is what got us to this point. Unfortunately, Atiku Abubakar himself popularized the concept of especially the flotation of the Naira. I remember in 2019 that if I ran essentially on that and he repeated it in 2023, it is contained very well in his policy document. Similarly, he also talked about subsidy removal. He has been an advocate of subsidy removal since he was vice president. But now that you have seen the damage that this has done, I don't expect you to be giving advice on how to do subsidy removal better with a better plan or how to do flotation of the Naira better with a better plan. No. You should have by now realized that there are two things you can never subject to the vagaries of free market enterprise: price of energy and the exchange rate of your national currency. So I would have expected Atiku to sit down with people who have other ideas on how to run an economy and come up with something much more formidable that is a clear alternative to say, look, we had thought, which was a national consensus on the eve of the elections, that subsidy removal on petrol was the right thing to do. We also bought into the idea that flotation of the Naira was also the right thing to do. But 8 months down the line, we've seen that the adverse effect is such that it has eroded our productive base as an economy. It's created inflation. mass hunger, to the point where people are getting agitated and we are seeing social unrest across board. I expect an opposition to come together now and say, look, I think these ideas are not good, and we have decided to change the course of our thinking. I remember at the Labour Party, it was an NLC organized event in collaboration with the Labour Party leadership before the 2023 election. I was invited to come and speak on some issues concerning strategies to win election and issues concerning national development generally. And I remember making a point then at that event here in Abuja that for Nigeria to get to the right destination, we need to take a left turn. What I mean is, we need to jettison the existing orthodoxy of neoliberal economic thinking that has defined Nigeria's policy decision-making at the highest level. And that we need to take a turn from that extreme right wing. So to get to the right direction, the arrow pointing right wing take us to the right direction. We need to go left to go to the right direction. The right direction is prosperity, national security, and citizen welfare. Now, to get to that direction, which is the right direction, you have to take the left turn to that direction. That the right turn does not lead us to this place. It leads us to opposite of this right direction. And so, what do I mean? I said there was a need to have a rethink of a political economic philosophy. I tried to get a party like the Labour Party then that was running on popular sentiment and establishment sentiment to say, look, one of the reasons people are trying to anchor their vote and their support for you is because they think you're going to come up with something new. And something new will include a few of the following. For example, we had the other two parties claim, consistently so, that government has no business in business. I think the Labour Party should now insist that no, that to transform an economy as aptly described by Peter Obi as consumptive economy, to transform such a consumptive or consumption economy to one that is productive, we require the state to get involved in the means of production at this level. And it is a time-tested thesis or theory all over the world. If you look at post-World War Europe, for example, when the entire economies of Europe was ravaged because of the damages done by the Second World War and all that, the Marshall Plan was floated by the American government and supported by the IMF and World Bank. And the strategy to pull these economies out of extreme depression, retrogression, and all forms of negative indices was the state kickstarting the means of production, because at that level, nobody can do it for you. Now, Nigeria is almost at that level of post-World War Europe. Nobody is going to come into Nigeria and invest in the manner you think, because as a government, you need to put your house in order. If you want to come and invest, for example, in your oil and gas industry, people want to see what you are doing already in that sector that is profiting you. It will not attract you to come and expand it. If you want to come and invest in iron and steel industry, for example, taking advantage of the deposits of iron ore in states like Kogi, Kaduna, and Nasarawa, people want to see what you are doing as a government all over the world, to see what you are doing before they can come to say, okay, we want to acquire a stake in your state-owned enterprise or establish our own side by side yours.
Majeed, I want to take you back a bit of something you said about the opposition giving better options as the ways of doing things. And if the ruling party were to take these options, wouldn't it seem as though it's a failure on their part, and then they are trying these options that a party which never got the chance would have taken?
No. At the point where we are now, there's no need to grandstand on an idea. When you have a failure arising from the operational system that is driving your economic thought processes, it is courageous. It's a thing of honor. It shows integrity of leadership to make a U-turn so as to save the situation. There's nothing wrong with that. And so that's why I was saying that even the opposition does not provide the kind of alternative that ordinarily will influence a new thinking in the polity. They are still running on the same path with the ruling APC, because, the PDP is an establishment party. But what I expected the Labour Party to have defied a bit, so that by now Nigerians will hold on to that strongly, even ahead of the election. And so when, for example, subsidies were removed on petrol and the naira was floated, people hold on to that alternative thought of this thought force party to resist this. But if you observe, because all parties ran on the same campaign, when subsidy was removed and the naira was floated, Atiku Abubakar took credit for Tinubu implementing his ideas. And people praised Tinubu for being courageous and bold. And it was like he's done the right thing. It was when the reality hit hard. It was when prices went up and continues to go up. Now, it now occurred to us that maybe we shouldn't have contemplated or won't have that discussion in the first place. I'm saying a political party should have seen this ahead to say, we cannot have the same stand on this issue with other parties. But it's not too late now. If the ruling party is refusing to take a detour, by the way, I think they're actually taking the detour now. I can tell you for free that with the latest guidelines from CBN on forex management and the release that came after that actually indicated clearly that they're not going to supply BDCs with
$20,000.
They have effectively unfloated the naira. Their policy has been jettisoned effectively, because even the monetary authorities and whoever had this idea, it showed clearly that you can't float the national currency to float to Zimbabwe and Venezuela at the same time.
But the list of BDCs that have been said to be approved, there's a bit of question mark on this list. They have really interesting, in quote, names that make that list.
That is, the corruption factor is still there. I'm just saying in principle that, okay, they have made a U-turn from the initial, grandstand. But I don't float it to find its appropriate pricing. It will find its true value. And so we're going to go to probably 1 million naira to the dollar before we hit the true value of the naira. And that would have been devastating for the entire economy, including those in government. What happened between then and now is that even the monies they purportedly were going to save for subsidy removal, forex differentials are eating it up. So what 1 trillion could procure as at 10 a.m. on 29th of May 2023, before the subsidy was pronounced, and the subsequent flotation of naira was done, even 5 trillion cannot procure today because of inflation. I mean, you only have to look at the price of common commodities to know that the impact of first subsidy removal and flotation of the naira, who devalued the naira endlessly, had eaten up whatever savings government imagine they're going to make from subsidy removal. So they have more naira, but those naira are worthless compared to the dollar. So we're an import-dependent economy, and we need dollars to run our economy essentially. So what benefit is it to anybody? Not to the government, not to the people. But again, we've not seen a clear cut. You see, we need... okay, let's put it this way. Nigeria is trying to practice entrepreneurial capitalism of the extreme kind.
Before we have you share their thoughts, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into more of your reactions. You can watch live on YouTube and Facebook right now at Nigeria Info Abuja. Do subscribe and also share your thoughts on those platforms.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This 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 is Nigeria Info.
On 95.1 Nigeria Info.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. 3:28 right here. We're on the roundtable going through some big stories making the rounds in Nigeria today. Dr. Majeed, we're trying to land on a point, but I'd also like you to touch on something that the Senate is currently trying to get the government's attention to look into, which is food stamps to tackle hunger in Nigeria. Now, we know that developed countries, it's something they have in the works for them, for those who might lose a job, have difficulties along the line. But while you land on that thought, let's have you also, put this into consideration.
Look, very quickly, without wasting too much time on this issue, food stamp will not work in Nigeria.
Why not?
Nigeria is not capable of running an effective social security intervention because we're not there yet. You have to grow prosperity to a level where you have sustained prosperity. You have people that you're out of school, you are skilled, you get multiple offers of job because of the export competitiveness of your economy. You have to attain that level first, where the overall majority of Nigerian people are gainfully employed in sustainable jobs that have career growth and income growth as they progress in that career. Now, you cannot look at those who, for reasons beyond their own control, not because there are no opportunities now, but because for reasons just beyond their control, either health issues, either mental health issues, not everybody can climb a ladder, even if you put it down for them to climb, But there must be that ladder for people that have the capacity to climb first. Then when you now have that few number of people who are not just able, for whatever reason, and there are many of such reasons, are able to climb this ladder of growth and prosperity that the government has provided, you cannot place such people on things like food stamps, social welfare. What we need to do now is to work. You see, we need to work to create wealth that can move many of us out of poverty. Because if you want to implement food stamp today, be ready to give food stamp to 200 million people. In a country where it is said that only less than 5% of Nigerians have 500k balance in their accounts, who does not need food stamp in such an economy?
But what makes this different from the palliative distribution that we've seen play
That's
out?
why it didn't work. That's why it didn't work.
As well as the cash transfer, which is making a comeback.
Let us jettison all those social security issues for now. We're not there. Where we are now is for government to invest these monies in productive ventures. And I'll give you a practical example. I'll tie it to what I was trying to say in the beginning. Imagine, for instance, that the federal government sits down with the government of Benue and say, look, how do we make your agri-potentials export competitive? Set up a small committee of experts to look at it and look at what to grow in Benue, the investments required and all. And the government said, the federal government sit down with Benue state government and say, okay, let us put it all together. Let's move to the field. So any Nigerian who have agricultural skills, you don't have to be from Benue originally. If your skills is agriculture, okay, there is now an opportunity for you to come into the agricultural economy of Benue to work. As we're exporting oranges, mangoes, pineapples, or whatever it is you're exporting from this particular state to Eurozone, to South America, to North America, to the Middle East, and it's bringing dollars. And we are making expansion in this export. It will keep increasing and expanding jobs along the value chain, but government must take the lead. And so when government has done this successfully through a pilot scheme, and other investors now see the potentials as demonstrated by government, they will rush in and actually even expand more jobs, expand more prosperity from that cluster. Now, we need to do the same thing for a state like, say, Kogi, where you have limestone in abundance, you have marble, you have all sorts of solid minerals. Now, what are those extractive industries that we can establish that can feed other industries that can finish this product for both local use and export. The same thing takes place there. That's why you have the Ministry of Trade and Investment, essentially. And so how do we export finished products from this state to other parts of the world, starting with West Africa sub-region, for example, to earn foreign exchange? And so the same thing happens. So if you have any of such skills that are required to run this economy, Nigerians should move into that place. And the more you produce with these investments from government, and you export it, it expands job along that corridor as well, to the point where people will see the prosperity, the viability of this enterprise, and come in and invest, and further expand it. And so Kogi becomes a hub for solid mineral processing and finished products for export competitiveness. The same thing happens for textiles in Kaduna, taking advantage of the field, of the cotton fields in, say, Katsina, in Zamfara, in Sokoto, bringing it into Kaduna to finish. The Kaduna state government should sit down the federal government and say, look, we want to sustain the textile economy of Kaduna that drove that state to prosperity in the 70s and 80s. And what are the factors required to produce? All these things put on the table with investments from both the federal government and the state government as partners, and then another person who is interested in partnering with them. But then they sustain it. It's the same thing across the country. But then you do this across the country, taking advantage of the comparative economic endowment of the 36 states of the federation, you will realize that Nigeria would have succeeded in specializing in at least one export competitive product from each of 36 states, making it 36. This is enough to kickstart productivity. But I insist, the state must take the lead. But for the state to take the lead, the government has to be above board like Caesar's wife. It has to be godlike in its conduct, in its efficiency. It has to be the moral compass of the society. It has to be near righteous, if not saintly. It has to be without spot. So what I'm saying in essence is, highest level of integrity is required by the political leadership to run a government that can convert our huge endowments into prosperity through export competitive economy. That is why if you see countries that have this model of economy, from Norway, for example, Norway has an oil company called Start Oil. It is now called Equinor. Start Oil is essentially called state oil. It's the NNPC of Norway. It operates in 36 countries all over the world. And it rakes in billions of dollars into the coffers of the Norwegian government. And what I know today, among many of such other state-owned enterprises, is one of the wealthiest countries in the world. And these companies are run by the ministries and departments of the Norwegian government efficiently. It is the same thing with Germany. It was interesting to know that the largest energy company in the world, Energy, is owned by the German state. It's called Uniper. It's the German government owns it exclusively, 100%. One of the largest printing presses in the world that print security feature documents globally, one of the leading, is owned by the German government. As basic as printing press, the German government owns a printing press that operates in multiple jurisdictions and creates wealth and prosperity for the citizens. Now I want to do this in Germany, a land with a welfare policy. Are we talking about Saudi Arabia and Aramco? Are we talking about Petrobras of Brazil? So the state must go into productive ventures enough to create wealth. And I'm saying that we've not seen any political party in Nigeria coming up with this center of the left-leaning policy to say the state must be involved. And I remember at that forum I addressed, the Labour Party leadership and the NLC. I said, for someone like P2B, who has a reputation for frugal management of public resources, who has that level of financial integrity that was required at the time, which made a lot of people support him, to run a country that Nigeria was going broke from profligacy of the lead of the political class. Such a person can be trusted to lead a government that's above board like Caesar's wife and lead this process of national rebate enough to the position government to kickstart the means of production by sitting on the driver's seat of the economic development. He can be trusted. People can trust and say, okay, maybe he can do it. But unfortunately, maybe he didn't know that was what he was supposed to have actually run with. It is not late. He still has that reputation. People still regard him highly. All he needs to do is to sit down and take a step backwards from the orthodoxy that is in operation today that has led us to nowhere. I realize that until we take a left turn, we can't get to the right direction. We need to see that at least from the Labour Party being like the anti-establishment party that Nigerians expressed their satisfaction for the status quo in the 2023 election. The PDP too can as well do the same and take a step backwards and have a rethink. In fact, the APC that is the ruling party can also do that. But the thing is, you realize that this idea is being championed by a few of us in the media. You need a political party to mainstream this idea, to become something of their own manifesto, their own new line of thinking.
Could there be a reason why some of these parties are shying away from doing what is obviously needed in terms of, as opposed to putting funds into social investment programs that would only benefit a few? And we've seen that there's not much progress being gotten out of that. Putting it into channels that will benefit Nigeria as a whole. I mean, the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, stated that the state and local governments need to take the lead in order to be able to fight the economic hardship that Nigeria is currently going through. And it's something that you've also stated. But we know how there's been a bit of bottleneck for the local government to be able to do anything at all or exercise the powers that it has.
This comes back to the issue of political party. In Nigeria, local governments are practically non-existent. That's one. Then the states, with due respect, are not functioning optimally. Not because the constitution does not allow them to function, but because you have a set of political leadership that is profligate, irresponsible, if you ask me, and not thinking right, and only concerned with self-aggrandizement. That is where a political party comes in. I've always argued that what you need to fight corruption, cultural, institutional, and administrative corruption, is not ICPC and EFCC alone. It's a political decision. So we need a political movement in Nigeria that will have as its rallying call absolute fidelity to constitutionalism. That is, whatever the Constitution prescribes, both the tangibles and intangibles, in line with both the intent and the letters, should be strictly abided with, including zero corruption. So you need a political movement that will take this decision to say, look, we're coming to power just to do this. This is the starting point. When you do that, when you come to power, you are voted into power because of just this ideal, you now see that the states, the federal government, and the local government, that is, this party is lucky to win all, majority of the states and probably the central power, seat of power. Such a political party now, with this mandate to come and do the right thing, meaning that the party will not share money and share rights for voters. So, in fact, it's voters that will not contribute to say, okay, we trust your integrity. All of you that contest for governorship, senate, we trust you so much that we're going to contribute our widow's mind to you, one. And secondly, we will sacrifice our time to vote for you and reject monies from other parties. But in exchange for this social contract, please come in here and just do the right thing in absolute terms. Make everything work according to the intent of the law. It's a decision. Meaning that you're going to appoint the best people qualified for any particular appointment, any job. You're going to make local governments work at state level. So what I mean is, a governorship election that is won by such a party will revive local government, starting with, first, constituting the SIEC of the state to be constituted with people that are not partisan, people of the highest level of integrity that can run an electoral management process, which is lacking across the 36 states of the federation. So a party that comes on board with this new thinking will now appoint in the state they control people of impeccable character to go and run local government elections and send a state electoral bill to the assembly to regulate election time frame for local government in line with the constitution. So that as one tenure is ending, elections are holding for the successors, and people will be allowed to vote freely for whichever party they want in their localities. It's not host and win that we do now. Yeah, if the ruling party is the Labour Party, everybody wins the local government election. If it's Abuja, everybody wins the local government election. If it is a PDP, they win all the 21 seats, 15 seats, and all that. If it's APC, the same thing. No, it starts from there. When you democratize the process really, really well, the people that are elected know that you're not a messenger. People voted you here. They will do the right thing, knowing that they don't have any safeguard by way of electoral subterfuge. It's when you know that if you do the wrong thing, you can win back power through electoral subterfuge. You continue to do it. But when you know that if you do the wrong thing, you'll be punished. But if you do that, you'll be rewarded. It will incentivize good governance, because you know that people will punish you. You can even be recalled. You can be impeached, even at local government level. Then for these states to also release the complete funds in line with the constitution that's allocated to local government to these elected councils. Completely. Don't tamper with one area out of it. It's the same thing with other arms of government. You give the autonomy that is required to the judiciary, you give the autonomy that is required to the legislative arm of government, and please, most importantly, governors elected on under this arrangement will make sure that they utilize the monetary allocation of the state down to the last kobo for what it is meant for. God are the days when governors will become suddenly very rich because they become governors. No. This part you have to show this difference. Even if it's one state that did to this experiment, in the next election, by the time you see that the state that is bordering you has roads start down to the border, have functioning schools down to the very border communities with your own, nobody will tell you to adopt the ideals of this party and vote for them for free. But the truth is, Nigerians have not been given this alternative in practical terms. And I'm saying, to consolidate democracy, because we're a democracy, the alternative to what we have today is a more democratic system. So you have to apply more democracy. And the political parties that are the brain boxes of any democracy, everything is political decision, whether I like it or not. It's political decision. No? People can decide to be good and bad when they have the instrumentality of power. But when they try to be good, it's a decision. So we're saying, can we have a consensus as a people around a political party that can take this decision and say, look, enough is enough. We've seen that we are going downhill. And so we can no longer take this profligacy at the highest level. So we now need integrity-based leadership. There will be a moral guide and a moral compass for the nation in its effort to rebuild itself. And so we want to now elect people. It's like a deliberate process. And it's hard work. That's why any political party today that is ready to do this must begin the hard work of mobilizing people, most importantly, to disalign their democratic choices from their ethnicity and religion, and aligning with this ideal of pan-Nigerianness for national rebirth. So it takes a lot of work to do, and 3 years for the next generation is enough to do this work. So I'm saying, in the matter of you criticize the status quo, as a democracy, you must begin to, evolve alternatives with which you can use to challenge the status quo. So I'm not saying that enough in the opposition parties. We don't have enough critical thinking on the part of the opposition parties. The PDP is having a number of states under their control. All PDP governors supported subsidy removal. All of them supported flotation of the naira. They thought they were going to benefit like other governors too. Now, we've not seen anything so different from a PDP control state and an APC control state in terms of leadership structure. We've not seen anything different. There's no state in Nigeria, whether it is PDP or APC, that has an autonomous local government, judiciary, or legislature. We've not seen. So you can't oppose by just press statement from Wadata Plaza alone. You need to oppose by example. The same way that the ruling party must lead by example, you must oppose by example. I want to see what you are doing differently. So if you go to the states, for example, because United States like Nigeria is a federation where you have subnational units. So when you go to a democratic state, it's a different ball game from what you see in a Republican state on some very key issues: taxation, same-sex rights, immigration, policing, right to bear arms. You see a clear dichotomy on, okay, this is what republicanism represents. So people that voted for us, we are voting so deliverables, and are delivering it. If the demography changes suddenly and they now want liberal ideas, well, the Democrats will win. It's as simple as that. No hard feelings. We don't have that in Nigeria. Everybody seems to be the same once they get into power. So look at the National Assembly today. There's no vibrant voice of opposition. In fact, the opposition getting National Assembly appears to be from the APC too. When they have disagreement among themselves. Otherwise, the PDP is not opposing, the Labour Party is not opposing, Abuja is not opposing. It's like they're just there to further their own nest individually. And that's a betrayal of the people. But let those who voted outside the establishment. So we need to have an alternative, because a time will come, people will take a decision to throw away the bathwater and the baby.
But being in opposition doesn't always mean that you need to disagree with what the ruling party is doing. No,
definitely not. They are doing the right thing. Why not?
The right thing.
Yes. But the question is, can you point to something that has been done rightly in the last 8 months that anybody can actually align with? Otherwise, we won't be in the crisis we're having today. Yes.
Do you feel like we focus more on things going wrong, that when things are done right by the government, the wrong things, or when these decisions go south, we focus more on that and ignore the things that have been put in place?
The thing is, I can't say anything has been put in place to correct this wrong that is happening. What we're facing today is a decision of the ruling government. Now, it's like taking us from a bad situation to one that is worse. Nobody's saying that Nigeria was Eldorado before May 29. No, we had our problems. And for the past 4 or 5 years on this same platform, we'll be calling out the previous administration to say, you did the right, you're not doing the right thing. Fine. What we are saying is, it has gotten worse. It has gotten aggravated. Now, let me go back to the issue I was talking about taking the left turn to get to the right direction. It still beats my imagination as to how nobody thought it wise that energy security was fundamental to productivity of economy, and that subsidy on energy was actually subsidizing production, and that subsidy on energy was an investment in productivity. How nobody saw from this angle, and everybody was chorusing, remove subsidy, is amazing. So it is now that has been removed that we now see. Yesterday at the NPC meeting by the CBN, the CBN admitted that most of the factors causing inflation are outside of the monetary instrument of control. Completely. Energy prices and some other factors. It's outside of... Why the man will tell you, I didn't create this problem.
Yeah, he mentioned that it wasn't at fault.
Because it's outside of the purview of the CBN. So a lot was on the CBN. Don't we have faulted the CBN yesterday? Even I commend them for at least taking a step backward on the issue of floating of the naira, which I've said they have effectively unfloated, meaning they have admitted error of judgment in the first instance. Where I also faulted the CBN governor was, you shouldn't have hiked the rates.
The interest rate.
Look, I've always argued that the template that the CBN is operating with is not actually in sync or in reality with our own peculiar, situation. They seem to be concentrating so much on monetary instruments as a means of containing inflation. And I've said several times, that's inflationary trend is cost push. It has what to do with excess money in circulation. I don't know I've got this idea from that we have excess money in circulation. No, it's not true. The monies printed by Buhari or the trillions of dollars printed are not in my hands, are not in your hands. They didn't print money to increase minimum wage for $500,000 and they paid all of us $500K and went on shopping spree and drove up the price of goods because there was too much demand money. And let up. That was not the case. But that monies you printed went to some very fraudulent procurement processes that got into the hands of a few people. And these monies have found themselves into other forex as store of value, maybe real estate, and some fixed deposit in some nice banks. So it's not in circulation. And so what you need to do under the circumstance is to bring down the interest rate. If you ask me, to single digit of no more than 5%, that was right, that one will not fall. So the cost of borrowing to the real sector, manufacturing and industrial development and output, will be cheap and affordable for businessmen. So they can produce at a cheaper cost of borrowing and to impact on the prices. It will bring down inflation. Now you have hiked interest rate, hoping to attract, investment inflow through portfolio investment and other such instruments that are not really needed now. What you need now is to develop the real sector into productivity and become export competitive after no matter have achieved import substitution, for example.
All right.
So we've not, that's one thing I thought about what they are doing now. And I think again, we also need a political part. You see, we need a movement beyond just Majeed, Dahiru and a few of us that will mainstream this idea and say, can we try something else? We've been on this part. It has not worked. Can we now try this for a while and let us see? We're not trying enough.
All right, Dr. Majeed.
And so it just only us cannot really champion this national rebate or national thinking. We need the political party to key in and fine-tune it, make it better, and then run with this. And Nigerians will begin to, consider trying out some of these alternatives.
All right, let's take some reactions and feedback. You can watch live on YouTube and Facebook right now at Nigeria Info Abuja. We'll go to the phone lines to get some of your thoughts. Please go straight to your point when you get through 08095974869 and 08099930137. You can also send a WhatsApp message to 08099930137. 0137. Do up to include your name and your location. All right. This one from Adebare Awodoye says, let's focus on the man in the office and not blame opposition. They aren't the ones in authority and power. The policies that were made are what landed us where we are right now. And I find it difficult to know that. Yes. All right. Olade Abiodun goes on to say, I want to believe that Nigerian politicians are the same, both in government and those in opposition. If it's Obi or Atiko we have in government, the situation would have still been the same. And the bag of rice that the custom sold were smuggled items. Is it within the customs law to decide based on their prerogative on what to do with these items? I'm tired of lawlessness, is what Ohis in Kubwa says. Let's hear from you. Sorry about that. If you can do the call back or simply call on the WhatsApp number. Good afternoon. Hello.
Yeah, good day. Good day. This is Bulajanovic.
Welcome.
Yeah, good day to Dr. Majeed.
Good day, sir.
Yeah. I listened to your, position concerning the way, and I was the one that called you the other day talking about the money. Because if you look at it, once you print more and there's more money circulation, it reduces the value of your money. Just with the same idea, they say float the naira or make scarcity the dollar will increase in value. Why not make float the naira, because you're having naira plenty in the market. But when you float the dollar, in the essence that you make dollar affordable and reachable to Nigeria, because somebody cannot send me $100,000 and I go to the bank, they're giving me in exchange rate. Doesn't make sense.
Has a question for you, Balashanovic.
Is there a really excessively in circulation? I can't see it. I don't have it in my pocket. Please, you have it in excess. Where is this excess that are flowing around that I can't see, that I don't know where it is? Please, do you? I don't know.
The excess of the dollar? I'm just saying, right? Because the excess of the naira, right? When you have naira, like if we have 6 trillion naira moving in circulation.
I'm asking, where is this excess naira in circulation? Where is it circulating? Is it between me and you? Do you have up to 1 million in your pocket right now as I'm speaking to me? I don't have it. And nobody around me has seen this excess money flowing around.
The CBN should tell us that. Because if for the dollar, because somebody sends me $100,000, I can't get it cash from any bank. I can't.
All right.
That is one thing that we need to consider. I can't get $100,000 cash from any bank. They will tell me stories, or they want to give me the exchange rate value from the bank.
All right.
Which is not done. In other climate of countries, I can walk into a bank and I get my dollars because it's my money. The same method of the naira too. Because how can you get 1 million naira in your account and you cannot withdraw it in cash?
All right,
that's what they're telling us.
All right. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Welcome.
Hello?
Yes, are you there? Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Majeed, good afternoon. Nice.
Good afternoon, sir.
What's your name, sir?
Sir, my name is Abuja. I'm calling from Itodo.
Go ahead.
Floating of naira means the gap between the rate change and the official rate. So that there will not be some kind of any you are not giving some kind of you are not taking the dollars at the official rate. So you cannot go to the bank because you have been sent $100,000 and you want to withdraw dollars. No, it should be given to you on naira's value. I think that's where the problem is.
All right.
You cannot. If we say that this government makes, I'm sorry, this for IMF, it's the floating of these dollars. At the same time, after floating, after removing this first subsidy, those two policies cannot work together. And one can get money, which is the issue of the subsidy. The government have, even now, official rate of what before we are buying. We are supposed to buy what we are buying. But government have to find a way in order to bridge that gap. They cannot do that with the forex.
All right.
Because we are not, there was the deficit. That's what deficit we have. It's too high.
All right, Abubakar.
For the local content to grow.
All right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you move away from your device so we can hear you clearly? What's your name?
I apologize, please. I'm calling from Wagolada.
Go ahead.
This Dr. Majeed.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you? How is Nigeria?
Well.
God will continue to bless you and your family. You have been advocating for good governance, effective leadership for long. If those authorities are very sensitive, they will apply your suggestion and ideas, but they have called it bluff. Not even you alone. Millions of more Nigeria who are passionate about development of this country. We've seen countries like Dubai, United Arab Emirates, who are neither communists, they are not capitalists, they are politically neutral, and they are advising the course of development. They have adopted development formulas and models. It's working for them. They are creating great wealth for their citizenry and their country. They are putting their country on the world map. But here it is recession upon recession, hardship upon hardship. I don't know. Our leaders have their lack of ideas to move this country forward. So I personally, Dr. Majeed, I have lost faith in the political ruling class of Nigeria. For now, they are failed. They are totally failure. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Welcome. You have 40 seconds. Please go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just want to disagree with what
We can barely hear you. Can you move around and see if that improves your connection?
Can you hear me now?
Let's try this. What's your name?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. What's your name, sir? All right, your connection has gone south again. If you can't do it, call back or simply send a message. Dorcas is here with the news, looking all fly today. Okay. Give us this. Are you in Nigeria? Do you live here? Because
Or we need to investigate.
we need to actually probe you and know what's happening. But how are you? How's it going?
Fine.
I like the
fine.
blouse. It looks really fancy.
Thank you. I just want to stay, wear bright colors. So, you know, they say we don't
I know you're
like
shading
what
me.
we're going through. Right?
But good to see you. Dorcas is here with Abuja today at 4 o'clock. Afterwards, we're back to get more of your reactions to the stories on the roundtable today.
This is Nigeria Info.